Hello, this is Chapeau 24, the latest release, and it brings us current to date with Fedora 24 because Chapeau is hat in French and is a spin-off distribution of Fedora. It's a neat application with lots of promise in that it has a program called Hardware Helper that helps you to configure your NVIDIA drivers, and that used to be a real pain with Fedora. And here we have it. It does run the GNOME desktop, and I've added a few bells and whistles to the normal installation. I've added some extensions across the top. I've added places. Right here is a little statement on what my CPU is doing. The weather I've added a Bitcoin updater there, so I know what the price of Bitcoins is in US dollars. I've added a little teapot icon. It helps me brew my tea so that I don't oversteep it. That's kind of interesting. I have a temperature sensor system here, and I always try and stay under 60 degrees. I tend to run my computers a little hot where they're stuck. Caffeine and a system tray. Down here I have Cairo Dock, and you can access your normal launcher just by pressing the super key or hitting activities, and there you can see my favorites. It's easy to add and remove favorites just by right-clicking, and I can show details or remove from favorites. I can go down and click all settings, show all applications, and add items to my favorites very easily. And you can see here I have Kodi, for example, there. I have Zim Desktop Wiki. I'm running Voco Screen to record this. I have Firefox up and running, and there you can see my system monitor. Let's take a little closer look. I'm running at 2.5 gigs. If I do a fresh start, I'm usually right around 1 gig. So all these extra programs are eating up the memory. My quad-core Phenom CPU, which is 5 or 6 years old, is really cranking out through the work. And so there's really no problems here whatsoever. So let's get out of that. If we take a look at Firefox, I'm on Chapeau's homepage, and here's the release on Chapeau 24. And we can see it's derived from Fedora 24. It's running GNOME 3.2, has LibreOffice 5, which is just wonderful. Play on Linux, Wine, and Steam, all already pre-configured and loaded. VLC, and that's the 3.0 version of VLC. Take a quick look at that just to double check. And here we go. It is V 3.0, so that's kind of nice. Get out of that. Firefox it comes with, and Adobe Flash, Hardware Helper tool, which is the really neat thing about Chapeau. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. It has Fusion, and it has 2 different package managers, software and Yum. Media codecs, it's strong on virtualization. It has a Dropbox integration straight into your folders. And it also has a nice documents program that lets you access your Google Documents or Microsoft OneNotes or whatever you happen to be using on the internet. So that is a pretty interesting distribution. And let's take a little closer look at Hardware Helper. So Hardware Helper is what lets you install graphics NVIDIA drivers very easily. But I must have done something wrong in my installation. And the installation went pretty smoothly. I installed it to its own hard drive. This is a triple boot machine, so I'm running Chaos and Peppermint 7 also on it. But Chapeau's got its own hard drive, but I cannot find my graphics card. So I had to go through and install. In fact, I should have an addition button down here saying graphics. And it would let me choose the graphical driver I wanted to choose, whether it was Nouveau or NVIDIA. And so that's disappointing, and I don't know why that's happening. So I had to go through and install my NVIDIA card and drivers myself. So if we look at settings, and the other interesting thing is that I just seem to be a little slow on my GNOME desktop, and that's probably, again, something I've done and haven't quite tweaked all the way. But if we look at details, you can see I have recognized my NVIDIA card. It's a GTX 660, and that's not a bad card. And I do have NVIDIA up and running. So there we go. And it is running 370. So that's no slouch. But I did have to go through and add a repository and install it, and I had to install it through the command line, and therein lies the problem. That's not too beginner friendly. If there's interest, I will put a video up on how I installed the NVIDIA driver and added the repository. And basically, it's adding it to Fedora 24, so it's applicable to both Chapeau and Fedora systems. Take a little closer look at some of the programs that are in Chapeau 24. It is a full-featured distribution, and it comes with lots of great programs out of the box and programs you don't normally see. In addition to programs that you almost always see. You always see some kind of CD, DVD writer, for example. I added Cairo Doc. Documents lets me access my Google Docs or Microsoft OneNote. In fact, I use both. File system, Firefox is a standard browser. They've added a few more games. I added Google Chrome and Kodi without a problem. Maps is an interesting addition. Office, that gets us into LibreOffice. Play on Linux and Steam both come pre-configured and up and running. Rhythmbox is your default music system. Shotwell, Simple Scan. So it is full featured, and it does an added transmission. It didn't have a BitTorrent client, I don't think, in 23. And VocoScreen, VLC. I added Vivaldi, which I like, without a problem, and I added Zim Desktop Wiki, and I had liked, and I added all those through Yum. And if we look at the utilities, it comes with a lot of good packages here that you don't normally see, like, for example, Clam, which is an antivirus program, a hardware helper, which I hope to get to work, and there's my NVIDIA, and a remote desktop client. So it is a really nice distribution, and it's just frustrating that I couldn't get hardware helper to work. There's Conky Manager. So overall, I think if I can figure out what I did wrong with hardware helper, I would say this is a very excellent GNOME distribution to use, and would give it, 2 thumbs up enthusiastically. So until then, I would have to say, approach Chapeau and Fedora with a little bit of caution, because they can be difficult to get up and running. Other than that, there is a lot to like in Chapeau 24. Thanks for watching.